90K BTC, and the market's looking pretty good. We're leading into the crypto summit on Friday, but the question I'm asking today, is this going to be a sell the event or sell the news situation here? Is the market not pumping too hard into this, expecting maybe a little bit too much only to get disappointed? So we're talking about that today, guys. I've got you covered on so many altcoins. I've got short setups for you. I've got long setups. We got it all going down today. Let's get right into this. And remember, guys, as always, hit that like, hit the bell, hit the subscribe, and up and down. I'm here for you guys every single day. Occasionally, I'm going to be on the main channel, or I'm going to be on the Crypto Live channel, but I'm here bringing you this type of trading content all day long. Love this shit. And here we go. So here's Banter Bubbles. Nice little look at the moment. This is today's action. Now, you can see Move is 21% up. We saw Trump's World Liberty buying a little bit more of Move. We've had a nice move out of Render and Fetch. That's cool to see. AVAX, a little bit of talk around AVAX. ONDO, that's super bullish as well from yesterday. And then a lot of news on 𝗬𝗰 today. There was a Trump situation on 𝗬𝗰. So we're talking 𝗬𝗰. Is it time to short this thing now? We just had a monster rejection candle on the 15 minutes. So I started a small little short. Maybe I'm going to go straight to hell, but we're going to see if this is going to play out for us. So nice pump from 𝗬𝗰, nice bullish news. And then NEAR doing very nicely. That is also topical, and I'm talking about that one for you guys today as well. I've obviously got James in the house. There he is. Hello, sir.
Breaking news here, sir. Mexico tariffs are gone.
Okay, so
Trump has just announced that Mexico will not be required to pay tariffs on anything that falls under the existing USMCA trade agreement.
You get a tariff, and then you don't get a tariff.
We'll take it off today. It'll probably be back tomorrow, though, so don't get too excited.
We're going to cover this in detail, guys. Okay, but so far, zero effect on BTC. I wonder what that is going to do to the S&P. Let's see if that gives us a little bit of S&P action. So in terms of BTC on the 2 hour, it's been a very slow Bitcoin day. Okay, so I haven't done too many updates in Chart Hackers on the Bitcoin levels because not much has been going down in terms of BTC, but we have had quite a lot of action on the altcoins. There's been some very interesting trades today as well out there on these alts. So what we're looking at now, let's keep it super simple here. 88,500. You can see my VWAP from the lows, my 382, typical hot zone there. So 88,500. That makes sense to me as our first bounce area. Then if there is a little bit more weakness, we can start looking at 0.5s and things like that. You can see there are a couple of levels in between. So 86,800, and then obviously Old Faithful. Okay, our 618 Old Faithful at 85,700. So these are the ones we're looking for reactions on. So remember, if Bitcoin sneezes, this is the, this is 1% or 1.5%. The altcoin market shits itself. So you kind of look for that type of bounce in that area. That gives you some kind of alt reaction on those types of levels as well. So watch these three levels. That's, the most important for me. I'm not expecting more downside than this leading into the crypto summit. Now, obviously anything can happen after the crypto summit, and we obviously just speculating at the moment that maybe people are getting a little bit too excited. Maybe we should be a little bit more concerned about what is going to happen afterwards. But leading into that, I'm expecting the lows to hold for now, and then obviously bar any surprises later, then we're going to see. And Dan says can't wait to short at 94 again. Dan, I think that's pretty reasonable, bro. We're gonna take a look at some of these upside levels now for you. I think that's a fair shot. So let me know as well today, guys. Can you see my screen when I take it on, when I take it off? Are we having these same problems again? And there, Kampala, how are you? You famous? Welcome. Parlor's in the house. Okay, so there we go. So Bitcoin, in terms of the downside levels, that is what I'm expecting. Now, in terms of upside stuff, I've marked this out for you guys. We're going to keep it really simple here. So let's just take a look at what we've got ahead of us. You can see I've marked a couple of reaction zones. Now, the most important one for me is this big one at 94K. You can see why this is a big deal for me. We've got tons of horizontals here, and we've got a trend as well in that region. So there's a lot of confluence that tells us this is a region we can get some kind of rejection there around about 94. So watch that area. That is step number one. Now, there's a couple of interesting zones here a little bit higher, and they're not all crammed next to each other. Now, you guys know that I love the confluence. When all these little things get compounded together in a zone, I start frothing at the mouth. I get a little bit excited when I see these things. But in terms of what we're seeing now, you can see our VWAP from the highs And this is a very powerful VWAP. This is the VWAP from the all-time highs is sitting at 95,500. So I did draw that arrow a little bit higher there because there's a possibility that we can wick into that 95,500. And if there's some bullish news and the market gets what they want, you might see a quick, 3, 4, 5% candle coming out of BTC. But it's all going to matter as to how that thing gets sold off afterwards. Remember, that could be one of the biggest bull traps in history if you get a guard candle out of BTC. So watching 95,600, watching 94K. Then you've got another problem here, the 50-day and the 100-day MA, 97K. And then you've got our big trouble zone, which was our massive daily level. This was 99 to the upside. So basically what you're seeing here is an absolute complete war zone ahead of you. Okay, so Bitcoin will do really well to get through that. But if you get a very sharp, hard move through that area, even into 99, 100K, my first assumption is going to be we should be able to sell that and we should get a nice dip after that happens. Sean says squeaky bum time tomorrow. Sean, I agree, bro. It's going to be very interesting. And Sean says another red weekend coming. Guys, I don't know. It's going to be interesting because we can have one of these. They're either going to send us straight to hell, okay? Or alternatively, we're going to be buying tons and tons of handbags. Okay, so the shit's going to be going down.
My wife says it's handbags only this time. Enough of this straight to hell.
We want the handbags, guys. We want the handbags. Now, I've got lots of these shirts, okay? So we're going to figure out how to get all of these shirts and things to you guys. We're going to have some fun with this stuff. One of the starting points is you might want to be a member of Hackers if you want to start enjoying these types of perks, okay? So let's go. Let's get into the news. Let's talk what is happening out there, and let's see what is going down. Okay, so number one, very pleasant. Only $250 million wrecked in the last 24 hours. So $250 million. 2 days ago, it was $1 billion got wrecked on liquidations. 300 million yesterday and 240 today. So they're being very kind at the moment, the market makers. And the fear and greed index is back at 25. So in terms of where we were a couple of days ago, and I'm talking 16, where everyone was literally shitting themselves. I mean, this is relatively bullish. We must be happy. But can you imagine 2 years ago telling people that the fear and greed index is at 25 and Bitcoin is trading at $90,000? I mean, imagine that feeling. They would have thought we were absolutely crazy. Okay, so this was quality. So Chart Hackers, follow us on Twitter, the Chart Hackers. We post tons of alpha, but also tons of jokes and funny shit. So this was, can I go back? This is after you do a round trip. I absolutely love this. When you do a round trip in the market, and you want to see if you can go back and sell it again.
No.
But
no.
we just want that second chance. We were sorry. We should have sold it at the top. We should have, but they've sent it straight back down. And then this is how I've been feeling. Now, I don't know how about you guys, how you guys have been feeling lately, but this is everyone else on the left, so clean and pure. And this is us traders, especially the degens here at the moment. I mean, look, bar the smokes. I got rid of some of those smokes recently, but it's the caffeine, the hate, the alcohol, the ibuprofen. It's proper pain out there at the moment for you guys. And James, you concur, or are you pretty relaxed with that?
Trying to cut out the smokes myself, but it's not working yet.
The ibuprofen, that's a nice touch. That's a really nice touch there for us degen traders. Now, we need to be aware of the market movers. What are the market movers at the moment? And I mean, we all know it's all about the trade wars. It's all about the crypto summit. But also, let's not forget, we've got Vlad and causing a bit of trouble now with the Europeans, or the Europeans are causing a bit of trouble. Now, this isn't a political show. We just talk about things that move the market. And basically, Russia is now scolding Macron over the war warning. Now, Macron's getting a little bit funny about the current situation. So this is something we're going to keep our eyes on. This has obviously got, a way this thing can really pump the markets, or obviously absolutely wreck them. Okay, so we're going to keep our eyes on this war news here. I see the Europeans are stepping up the game. The Germans are spending money on military equipment. They're doing all sorts of loans. They're doing all sorts of things. So Germany's getting geared up for a little bit of party time there. And sometimes I'm quite glad I'm sitting so far away in another country. It was a little bit further away and than some of those others. So Zero Hedge reports earlier today, Trump likely to defer tariffs on all USMCA goods. Okay, that's what James just told you guys about. So I mean, it's an absolute roller coaster. We've been speaking about this every day, but we know what these guys are up to at the moment. This is what they do. Monday, roll back tariffs. Tuesday, reinstate. Wednesday, we roll back. Fuck it. Thursday, we'll reinstate. Friday, guys, let's roll it back. And then we'll golf on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So that seems to be the game plan at the moment. And imagine being a fly on the wall and understanding, that these moves are going to be happening, and suddenly you moving $1 billion around, and that the tariffs are going to get pulled back. Then the tariffs are going to get brought back again. Are you trading that? If you have a little bit of information, I wonder. Now, another market mover today, President Trump, he says he's signing executive orders at 2 p.m. Eastern time today. So another market mover potentially there for you guys. And Molly Plufkins puts this quite nicely here. Now, Molly says, step 1, announce the tariffs, stock market drops. Step 2, billionaires buy lots of stock. Step 3, immediately roll back the tariffs and stock market rebounds. And this is how the rich get richer. Now, I mean, it makes sense. Excellent trading, right? Trading with an edge, right? It's a small edge, trading with an edge. Okay, let's see what else we got here. We've got lots of talk on Twitter. Now, I don't know who the original tweet was, because the way Twitter works is somebody will tweet something and then 5 million people will copy it, and they all just copy the guy's information. So this is Colin Talks Crypto. I don't know if he was the original tweetor or whatever with this thing, but he's basically talking about the global M2 money supply, and basically using history and using the charts that you can see here in front, and give him a follow. You can see what he's talking about. But basically he's saying towards the end of March, okay, approximately the 25th of March, that's pretty accurate, there's going to be some kind of nice big move up. So that brings me to the point in saying, are these guys ready to allow the market to move up when the prices are already now up 20, 30, 40% on some of these tokens? Won't they want to send it a little bit lower first and then start taking advantage of a couple of things? So just something to think about there. And you can see here's some other tweets as well now talking about it, saying 22nd to the 28th of March, they're looking for some kind of pump. Now, you know what happens. The whole of Twitter starts jumping onto this thing, and maybe the market now pumps before this event. But it's just interesting now. This is the latest narrative all over Twitter. And then U.S. Commerce Secretary Lutnick says the strategic reserve will be announced at the Trump White House summit. Okay, and other tokens will be treated positively but differently. Now, remember on Sunday, okay, there was an announcement on Sunday from Uncle Donald saying the strategic reserve, and he announced Sol, Cardano, XRP, ETH, blah, 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 blah. Now they seem to be shifting things a little bit and saying, well, they're going to put these altcoins in a separate little basket and call it something else. Okay, so just interesting. This could have an effect on some of those tokens. They may be giving up some of their gains now when the market realizes that maybe it's not going to be exactly what they were expecting. Now, one of the only BTC people, yes, sir.
Screen issues again, apparently.
Screen issues again.
Yeah,
okay.
It's in the chat here.
Okay, guys, we'll try and just leave the screen up, but then you're gonna miss my face, unfortunately. But I'm sure you guys can cope. It's just gonna be alpha for you guys. Okay, so let me know. Can they see it? Can they see it again? Okay, Paula's giving me the thumbs up. Okay, we're good to go. Okay, so Saylor is one of the only Bitcoin maxis that are getting invited to this crypto conference. I mean, the crypto summit. Here it is. Michael Saylor. Yeah, this is the invite list from MicroStrategy. It's bullish for BTC, and he had a couple of comments today that maybe we just need to pay attention to. It's very interesting what he's saying. Basically, he's talking about the US buying, I think, 1 million BTC. So let's just hear what he has to say. Let me just turn off this. Let me just turn off the beats quickly. Okay, there we go. Let's see what he has to say.
Everybody's dying to know about the summit and what they think is going to be announced. How do you think this crypto reserve will be financed?
Well, I think that there's a 6-month process that's been laid out by the executive order, and I think the president was fairly deliberate in that. There are 12 members on the Presidential Working Committee. There'll be involvement from the industry. There'll be involvement from the Senate and from the House, and it's above my pay grade to decide how it is determined, but the Lummis bill has laid out the idea of acquiring Bitcoin strategically over 4 years, just consistently day by day in order to reach a 1 million Bitcoin target.
Okay, the government has 200,000 Bitcoin, as I understand it. We equal about 17 billion at today's prices. So to get up there, they would have to purchase Bitcoin, right? So as the government purchases these Bitcoin and other tokens, what is that going to do to the price? I mean, supply goes down, the price goes up.
Well, the most responsible thing would be to go slow and steady and deliberate with clear telegraphing and transparency, so that the real key about Bitcoin is for people to understand that it's digital property. It's a savings account that empowers every single American to save their wealth and preserve it over time.
Okay, so basically, in a nutshell, they're saying the target is going to be 1 million BTC that they want to own, but they're not exactly going to log on to Bybit or Binance or, Coinbase and go market buy fucking 800,000 BTC. They're going to do this very cleverly over 4 years. Now, you know what happens in a 4-year Bitcoin cycle. We might see Bitcoin again at 30K for all we know. Okay, so I don't want to shock anybody, but if we use history, and these cycles, they might be buying it a lot cheaper in a couple of years when we're in some kind of monster bear market. So it is a possibility. I just want to put that out there, and they are going to be doing it pretty slowly. They're talking about a 4-year plan. Ferdy says, is Charles Hoskinson invited? So as far as I understand, he is. Yes, sir.
Well, the thing is, everybody assumed he was and speculating, but there was a tweet from Charles yesterday saying at this point he's not received any invitation, and that was just yesterday. So okay. I don't know how much we trust the confirmations.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, there's the list. But if Charles Hoskinson is saying he's not invited, well, maybe we need to listen to him, okay, and not pay attention to these tweets floating around. Okay, so there's the deal. Obviously it's super bullish for the market, but over 4 years, they're going to accumulate another 800,000 BTC. So maybe, and it's probably OTC, and it might not do, what we wanted to do other than retail speculation. So going to be interesting 4 years anyway, okay? And Zen says last minute summit. Who else is in the chats here? Let me see. Where's my people here in the chats? I see Cosmo the Wonder Dog is here. And his invite got lost in the mail. It looks like that. Here's an interesting one from Solana Gambling Ball to Ball. He says, no one realized yet, but the biggest bull run just started. Trump started the global crypto rally between leading countries. Now, China, EU, and UK will create reserves one by one and push crypto. Now, that is a very interesting point. That is actually pretty bullish. So if it's just the US buying over 4 years, that's one thing. But what happens if they get into a bit of a competition here and Europe starts buying the UK, China, and these Chinese, they won't hold back, okay? They're not exactly going to buy 2 BTC, okay? They're going to ape. And they're going to get involved. So that is a little bit of bullish information there for us. And then yesterday we touched on the Dixie. Now this is obviously an important one. And Mr. Crypto is talking about what happens when the Dixie collapses. Okay, and he says when the Dixie falls, crypto pumps. And he's given us a nice chart showing us the crypto tops when the Dixie is in the red box below these big supports. Okay, so you can see what's happened 2017, 2021, 2025. So that looks like it's quite a long way away, but let's take a look at this chart and let's see what he's talking about. So I've got the daily chart out of here, and you can see this is it's quite a big range we are sitting in at the moment on the Dixie, and you can see we are moving into our current first bounce zone. So I'm actually expecting some kind of bounce here on the Dixie first, but I would like to see a little bit more downside. So typically what you get in these types of zones, you can see we've got a 618, and this falling Dixie should be really good for the markets in general, but currently with the terrorist situation, it hasn't been that helpful. But in terms of what we can see on the Dixie, if we do get some kind of bounce here, I think it's a short-lived bounce, because I do think ultimately we are going to see this Dixie a lot lower down. Now, we know that Trump wants to kind of lose some of the dollar strength from what I understand at the moment, and it would make sense that this Dixie does drop a little bit lower. So this target is going to be that 100 region at some point, and hopefully that next phase to the downside could be translated into a nice market pump from the S&P and maybe a nice crypto pump as well. So that is something we will pay attention to. And then in terms of the S&P, now a mixed bag of news today, but we are still holding our key levels. So no changes yet to, the current area. We're looking for a nice sustained little bounce up. I mean, it might be in that area, but it might be that 50-day MA. We're going to be tracking there to the upside, but we are looking for this current region, 5,700 to hold here for me, and I'm staying long at the moment on my S&P trade. Now you can see my Tesla trade that I added to yesterday, and it's now under a bit of pressure. So we're gonna have to see, because Tesla gave us a 3 or 4% bounce yesterday, and the S&P gave us a nice bounce, but it's given up a couple of the gains here at the moment. So we're gonna see how that's playing. Remember, I'm trading stocks now on BTCC. So if you want to trade stocks with me and give this a go, they've actually made it quite nice for for you guys to basically trade your first stock for free, because they're giving you a 50% sign-up bonus if you put in $200. So if you put in $200, they're going to give you $100 that you can trade with. Okay, so there you can have your first trade for free, essentially, here on BTCC. But you got to obviously be signed up with the link in the show description that I've got there. And then they really want to cater for the whales, for the guys that want to trade some bigger size stock positions and things like that. What you can do is you can deposit up to $100,000 in here, and then they're going to give you $10,000 trading bonus for that stuff. So if you want to trade stocks with me, come and join me on BTCC. We're obviously going to open a channel in Hackers as well, where we're going to focus on a couple of these stocks. So Tesla, just to recap where we are, I'm sitting in the Tesla long. You can see this was a reaction zone for us, and we've got multiple reasons why this area should give us some kind of bounce. You can see tons of reversal prints. I've got my quantum reactor, I've got my rising trend, I've got a 618 in the hacker zone here, I've got a big horizontal. So, all things being equal, this is typically a bounce zone that we look for. So that is why I've entered that Tesla position. We do know there's a little bit of FUD from China with regards to Tesla, and they're cutting some of the sales there. So maybe that's going to have a bigger effect. And, when you get tons of FUD in the market like that, maybe it becomes bigger than TA. But we'll have to see if we get our bounce. But in terms of Tesla, if it does drop a little bit lower, I do have a gap here that I think could be our next target. So 255 is a potential bounce area, and then we're looking at 238 is going to be the next one there for me on Tesla. And then the big dog is to the downside. We're talking 210, we're talking 215, those types of levels. Okay, so that's the Tesla game plan at the moment. And let's go into some higher time frame stuff. It looks like BTC is just dipping a little bit here, James. Are we falling over a bit here while we're talking? Okay. This is the strategy at the moment for me on the weekly. And we basically are faced with two scenarios here at the moment. So we can't say for sure what happens next. But what we do know is if we pump into major resistance areas, we quite often get a rejection. Okay. And if you dump into major support, you quite often get a bounce. So if we use that theory in play, that takes us to this bottom arrow that you can see here, and that is basically telling me if we push into this big weekly horizontal band and trend, there's a very good chance we reject and they start the journey. Now, I don't know if it's going to look exactly like this arrow. I mean, we could have a proper mixed bag over a couple of months, but we could look at something just as some kind of move down into these regions before we get a bounce. So that is around 70K. And the question is, will you buy Bitcoin at 70K if it's there? Or are you going to be screaming that we are going lower? Are you going to be saying that we are going to 54 after that? Because fuck me, I can tell you what, by the time we're at 72, we're going to be banging out this support as well. And we're going to be talking about how that is coming next, including the Wickful at just under, say, 50K. So things are definitely going to get a little bit spicy there for us, but we'll deal with that when we have to, okay? And if we have to, not saying it will go down there, but we're just going to be reactive to what the market gives us. Okay, so that's that. Now let's get into a couple of things here. So we're going to track this 88.5. You can see we're moving into that zone. VWAP on BTC. Let's see if we're going to get a reversal here. Let's go into the lower time frames. You can go use the oscillator. I've been using this a lot, and this thing's been a lot of fun on Fartcoin on lower time frames. Okay, so what you can do is when you're getting market sell-offs like this, you can go using the oscillator to the downside, and you want to look on the 15 minutes and start looking for these reversal prints. Look at these nice little reversals that they give us, and then we get a little bit of green afterwards. If you look at these charts, after we get the low time frame little moves here, and that often gives you a little scalp play on a lot of things, especially some of these altcoins. So the 15 minutes, let's see if we get that little reversal now on a nice level, then we can say, okay, let's take a little scalp long there on BTC. So let's see how that goes. We just want to tie it in on one of these hot zones here. That should give us our bounce on BTC. Okay, let's talk altcoins now. Let's just focus on dominance, and you can see at the moment, dominance is rejecting once again on a daily level. This is why these alts have performed slightly better today than BTC. So you would have noticed BTC is relatively flat and some alts have really done well. And that's got to do with this dominance rejecting on the daily resistance band. You can see that thing is trying to come down. So as long as this is coming down for us, we are happy. And those altcoins, if the market's falling over, those altcoins aren't getting wrecked as badly as they could. And if the market is doing okay or Bitcoin's flat, these alts start ripping as long as we got that red dominance candle. So always got one eye on that. And you can see 61.6 is our big resistance zone. If we start going over that, we're also in trouble again until 62%. That's going to be your next one. So right now it looks okay in terms of dominance. And then in terms of our altcoins, a very interesting moment leading into the crypto summit. This is actually, I don't want to sound dramatic, but this is pretty critical with this area that we're finding ourselves at now, pushing into the crypto summit. We are at major horizontal resistance. We are fighting a trend again. The last time we did this, what happened? We had a monster rejection. So we are at this big 850 billion region. What we want to see, again, keep it simple. We want to see total 3 holding above this 850. Then we can say, okay, we are gearing up for a nice big move to the upside. So a lot's going to rest on what goes down in the next 24 hours, maybe a touch more, but it's going to be a big couple of days nonetheless. Okay, and we might have an absolutely filthy weekend if the market starts dumping on Friday after the summit or during the summit or whatever. This weekend could get pretty ugly. And does that excite you?
So excited for another red weekend. It's been green for too long. We need it. We really need it.
So this is why I want to cover you guys with a couple of short opportunities. Now, typically, you guys, if you've watched the show long enough, and I want to take the screen off. We're gonna have to get it back. But if you've watched my show long enough, you know that I'm like a reversal trader. Okay, so I love it when it drops into my basket, and I love it when it pumps into my big reaction and big resistance zone. So we typically look for shorts when it's pumping into a big zone, or we look for longs when it's dropping into a nice area. Breakout candles and things like that, kind of like mixed bag, not really my favorite type of thing to do. So what we want to do is look for some kind of pump now into the crypto summit. The next nice push on those green candles is probably going to give you some kind of shorting opportunity, or at the very least some kind of head shorting opportunity that you guys can get. The stocks are dumping now according to AV Creations. Let's see what else came out there. Yeah, S&P's fucked. It's going to hell, straight to hell. And I mean, what was that news? I thought that was good. Okay, well, we're in the phase now where no news is good news and bad news is great news, and who knows. Okay, let's talk ETH. Okay, let's go. Let's jump into ETH. Let's see where we are. Okay, here's my ETH position. No changes. Okay, still chopping around. I've got a tentative 50% stop on ETH at 1980. Okay, that's just to preserve a little bit of capital if they are going to send me down. So I'm trading this one on WEX. You can see I'm $63,000 long on ETH, and this thing is basically just chopped around. So I've got a 50% stop at 1980. If they want to come down there, it's just going to free up some of that margin, and it's going to allow me to use some of that margin to buy some more if we do go a little bit lower. So I'm just trying to hedge a little bit and protect myself a bit there if that market does get ugly. And then let's get where's our ETH chart? Oh, there it is. Okay. So that's my current play on WEX. So just, we're waiting for ETH to wake up. I mean, that's really what we're going to do. But I mean, it's hard for ETH to wake up when this is, this is it. This man is in control of my trade right now. This man is in charge of my ETH position. I mean, he could surprise me. He could surprise me. Yeah, he's got it. I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable. Maybe after getting rinsed, then we can go long at 1600. Okay, don't be scared, because Uncle Donald is still buying tons of ETH. Okay, they're buying this stuff every single day. Okay, so let's talk ETH. Let's take a look. And again, no changes. This has been a very boring trade, this ETH situation. And the big levels for us, 2,100. Let's see if we can hold this 2,100 level. That would be ideal for us. Then a little bit lower, we've got our wick lows. That is something we're going to pay attention to. That for me is at 1993. Okay, those are wick lows. And if we start dipping lower, then we probably start a process like this. Now, I did touch on this yesterday, and typically when you lose one of these rising macro trends, I'm hoping you guys can see my screen here, but when you lose one of these rising macro trends, you typically start this journey lower down with bounces in between. Okay, so I'm not expecting, too many fireworks on ETH, but other than something like that, if we start closing underneath this macro trend. Okay, so for me, that's why I've started, I'm just starting to say, okay, let's just cut some of this ETH at 1980 if they want to drop it down. There's probably bounces along the way, but when we close under that trend, I'd say balance of probabilities, ETH is coming down. Okay, 1516 is probably where they are going to eventually send it. Now, I don't know how long that would take, but that is now on the table for us on ETH. So no changes there. And then upside, guys, anyone trading ETH to the upside, 2,400. Let's get through that, and then we'll talk 2.8. But right now, we keep it tight. We keep it simple. That's the game plan there on ETH. Okay, Sol, interesting. It was a second tap into yesterday's short zone for Sol. Okay, so just to remind you guys, we had a few bangers yesterday, and Popcat was one of them. I hope some of you guys got Popcat yesterday on the show with me. And, first zone yesterday hit. I've now obviously adjusted this chart because the levels have changed, but this was our first short zone on Sol. Dumped all the way down. Okay, then what happens today? We pump all the way up again, back into the short zone here. Look at that. This was a little deviation out of that range high, we could call it. And now this thing is starting to fall over. So Sol on the 2 hour, you can see this thing is turned bearish. We have a reversal print. And now what we want to do is we want to say, okay, we're leading into the crypto summit tomorrow. Should we be super bearish leading into the summit, or should we be maybe bearish after the summit? So, I would say this could be an opportunity for potential entries here coming on Sol. We just got to time it right. Now, obviously, if you're looking at a higher time frame, if you're looking on the daily and things like that, you're going to trade this slightly differently. If you're looking at 2 hour candles, you are a little bit of a degen, and you're doing degen game plans with me and things like that. So what you can do, keep it super simple, identify your hot zones, and very soon you're going to have access to my hot zone indicator. Look at this little banger here. Look at this little banger here. It's coming in soon for you guys, okay? And you're going to start using these things as a guide as to where you can get a reversal. So, for example, what you can do when Sol starts dropping into a level, or these tokens start dropping into levels, you can start going into lower time frames. And this is where we start playing degen games, okay? And you can see this is Sol on the 15 minutes. And look what happened earlier today. Look at this. We got a reversal on our lower time frame oscillator, and we got it off one of the hot zones. Okay, let's see. Let's actually see if the hot zone was caught. There it is. Look at that. Straight into the hot zone earlier. Bang. Okay, prints the reversal. You get the flame, and then you get a little bounce out of these things. So I'm trying to build the degen's dream indicator here for you guys, and it's coming soon. Okay, it's coming in hot, so it's on the way, and that gives you these little moves out of these tokens. So you can play this game again on these levels. So what you want to see is you want to wait for Sol or whatever token you're watching to consolidate on a good area, and then print that reversal, and that generally gives you some kind of bounce out of it. Now, it might not be a super high bounce. You might just have a downtrend and things like that, but we could get something like this out of Sol next, and then that will be our next banger zone that we're going to watch. So let's go back to the 2 hour, because remember, the higher the time frame obviously dictates the trend for us. So if we are looking at the 15 minutes, it might say a short-term bounce, but if we're looking at the 2 hour, this trend actually tells us that we might be wanting to turn a little bit lower for an extended period. Okay, so we might have to go a little bit lower down on that 2 hours. So levels for Sol traders, anyone who interested here, 143, number one, and then number two is going to be 140. We're going to look for some kind of reaction there. So 143 and 140, those are your reaction zones. Then we've got a very interesting wick here. And we pushed up maybe a little bit too fast. When was this? On Tuesday. And this may or may not get dealt with. So we're going to have to see how we go. So I would say watch 139, 140. Let's look for that reaction there to the downside. There is a possibility that they come one more time and they send it and they try and clean out some of this wick here that you see on the left-hand side. But if they do start doing that, what you need to pay attention to is your low. That's going to be your main guide that you're going to play with. So you're going to watch that low. And as long as we're not losing that 131, then you should be okay leading into the summit. Now, no reason to have bearish news when we haven't had the summit yet. Okay, so no reason to get disappointed yet. So it would be quite weird for me if they start losing like major levels on some of these tokens. Okay, so that's your game plan on Sol. And remember, all these charts, they go straight into Chart Hackers directly after the show, and all these plans and everything, it's there for you guys. And I do these things all day. Who's short 3 foot 6 inches? And Dan, what's going on there, bro? And Cosmo the Wonder Dog, it says Sol is pissing him off. Paolo, can you see my screen? Nice, thumbs up. I'm loving this. I'm loving having you in the back here. What a pleasure. What an absolute pleasure. Okay. Okay, let's go So we've covered. Now let's talk a bit of a mess here. Okay, let's see what's going on. We've got AI16Z rinsing me. Okay, this is my AI16Z from yesterday. A bit of a rinse. Okay, AIXBT, bit of a rinse here. I was trying to have a go on these things, thinking they might actually catch up with us on the market. Then I've got a Brett short running here on LBank. I've got Ethereum Classic short that I've been adding to slowly. You can see it's getting bigger in size here on LBank as well, just in case we fall over. I've got Near. Been trying to just build a little position all day, little bits with Near. There's Popcat from yesterday, still cooking that one. We've got the Sol in the short zone again, so that Sol's playing out, and then there's a 𝗬𝗰 head short as well that I told you guys about at the start of the show. So that's my current LBank mix that I got going on. We had a couple of nice 𝗬𝗰 scalp plays earlier today. That thing was super bullish and obviously got really surprised by the Trump news, so that was an interesting one. But yeah, I'm going to show you this chart now. We're going to go through it, and let's see if there's more in the tank. So remember, a lot of the shit goes down in chart hackers, guys, all day long. And oh, yes, Chaos. This is an important message for everybody. This is very important. And Chaos says it's getting on for Sunday. Whatever could that mean? Okay, I wonder if an exclusive content opportunity is coming for everybody who sees, likes, and retweets this message. Okay, now we're going to give you a sneak peek into a couple of things on Chart Hackers on Sunday. But the way you're going to see it is you're going to be following the Chart Hackers X account. Now, if you're not following it with the notifications on, you're not going to get what we are going to send you. We're going to send you something that's going to give you access to something special that you can have a look at. So make sure you are following at the Chart Hackers here on Twitter, and make sure your notifications are on so you can take advantage if you want to get involved in a little bit of hackers action on Sunday. Okay, so that is going to be coming in hot for you guys. Now let's recap. We're going to do 𝗬𝗰. Okay, yeah, well, let's do 𝗬𝗰, and then we'll recap Popcat from yesterday. Okay, so PMG George portfolio is going straight back to hell. It's disgusting. Guys, I think we get one more bounce into the summit. I think the summit we're going to sell. We're going to sell the news. I want to see what you guys are saying in my poll at the moment. Let's see. Continue crypto summit tomorrow. 28% says market continues the pump. Market sells the news. Wow, guys, 63% bears out there. Jeez. And 9% love lamp. Okay, well, I mean, that's handy as well. You know, that's also something fun that you can do there. But 63% bearish. Guys, that's a little bit more than I expected there. That's interesting. Maybe we're being too bearish. Maybe we're being way too bearish here. Maybe we need to side with the bulls here. Okay. Let's talk, wait, we'll do 𝗬𝗰. Okay, we're going to do 𝗬𝗰. So basically what went down, let's just confirm what went down. So we saw President Trump, World Liberty Financial partners with 𝗬𝗰 to launch a strategic 𝗬𝗰 reserve. Okay, I don't know about the wording of this whole thing, but obviously that was pumpamentals for 𝗬𝗰. And then I saw Mags talking about 𝗬𝗰 is heading for double digits. He's getting super bullish, or she's getting super bullish on 𝗬𝗰, and she's dropped, it looks like a weekly time frame chart here that she's looking at. So him or her looking at 9.5 to 12 as possible 𝗬𝗰 targets. So I thought, okay, let's look again. Now, we covered this one yesterday, and we covered this one the whole week. So hopefully some of you guys did get this entry. This was on Monday, Tuesday. We were talking about this being a major bounce zone. This was our August VWAP, the weekly support box with the hacker zone. There were tons of reasons why this was going to potentially bounce for us. So we've had a good move so far in terms of the three-day chart that we are watching. And what can we expect now? So if we get further big moves out of the market, we're going to just look at this chart and we're going to dial into the lower time frame in a sec. But if we get bigger moves out of the market, where can this thing go? So I just want to highlight for you again, if we blow this next resistance band at about 2.9 to about 3. If we pop that, there's probably a nice ride into 343 as your next possible short zone on 𝗬𝗰. So look out for that. If we get a mega pump now over the next couple of days, an 18% move on 𝗬𝗰, I'd say 3.43, 3.45 is probably number one where you want to get out. And probably number two, a possible short opportunity there for you on 𝗬𝗰. Now, let's take a look on the 1 hour time frame and let's try and break this thing down. So a couple of things happened today. And I set up a 𝗬𝗰 game plan here in my trading channel. Where's my trading channel here? I dropped a couple of game plans today, okay? There's Popcat, 𝗬𝗰, ONDO was one of them, 𝗬𝗰 was the other one, and, this was our game plan earlier today. Now, we obviously got surprised by a little bit of news from Uncle Donald, and that came and obviously ripped 𝗬𝗰 out of nowhere and basically sent it to Valhalla there for a minute or two, and it started bouncing a little bit early on that initial dip that we had. But I just want to show you something interesting. Sometimes when things are super bullish, you do get that 236. And if we take a look here, we had this 236 fib sitting with this rising trend at the same time earlier today. Look at that. So something to just remember, like a little educational thing here for you guys. You've got VWAP, you've got a fib, you've got a rising trend, and you've got horizontals in an area. It is typically a zone of interest. Now, obviously, we can't tell the news was going to come and he was going to absolutely pump 𝗬𝗰. But just in terms of a reaction area, just pretty interesting. We had 3 points of confluence. And then if you actually go in a little bit lower and we start playing the degen game that I'm trying to teach you guys at the moment, and a lot of the plans I'm doing in Hackers at the moment, you can see on these lower time frames, we printed a reversal on our oscillator on the lower time frame on quite a hot zone. And that resulted in a nice little pop there in the market. So nice result on 𝗬𝗰, but I mean, you'd be forgiven for, waiting for 382, because this 382 lower down was an absolute banger here to the downside. So pity we didn't get that one. Now we're going to have to see how this plays out. But in terms of the 1 hour, you can see this thing is now looking a little bit bearish here. We've got 2 reversal prints now on the 1 hour, and we're going to have to see what comes out of Trump's lips later on, or what happens to the market next. But in terms of, what we were looking at for 𝗬𝗰 now, a couple of interesting zones. This is a big resistance band. You can see that. This is our 200-day moving average. So we understand that this 2.9 is typically quite a big resistance zone. So we've pumped through it. We can call this a deviation for now. We've had a rejection. Let's see what happens next. There is still a possibility that it pumps up and then starts falling over, and then we look again tomorrow and get some kind of big move up out of 𝗬𝗰. That is one of the game plans potentially. Alternatively, you could find, because the news is so bullish, that they might want to tee 𝗬𝗰 up for this next 18% trade. Now, if you want a piece of this 18% trade, you need to trade this next breakout. So there is a move coming here, but you're going to have to be patient. Okay, so what the plan is here, you're going to look for some kind of consolidation in this area, and you want to see stability in the zone. Okay, so you want to see something like that, and on lower time frames, this is fine. 1 hour you can watch, and then you want to play that breakout. Okay, so let it do what it needs to do here. And the minute you've got support, even around 2.85, that type of region, if you start getting that consolidation there on the lower time frames, then there's a chance you're going to get this breakout play here to the upside, and that is going to give you this push to 3.43 is what you're going to be looking at. 3.43 is going to be your potential target there on 𝗬𝗰. So I'll drop this chart in Hackers for you guys. It will be there, but that's the bull play. Okay, now the bear play, the less bullish play would be quite a bigger pullback on this thing. You can see right now, it's already interestingly bouncing off this 236. Look at that. Bouncing off that 236. So quite interesting. What your next game plan is, you want to see where your tie-in is with your 382 and your 618. So let's see. Now you can see that's an absolute banger there as well. So this could give you a little bit of action. 2.7, guys. So that's your bull case. Okay, consolidation in this area. Bear case, this starts playing out. This reversal starts playing out there, and we start drifting lower. And your first area of interest then is going to be 2.7. You're going to look for some kind of move there, and just see if that holds. Okay, if you close under that, then we're probably going to 2.5. Okay, so watch 2.7. Let's see if we can catch some kind of bounce there on 𝗬𝗰 at 2.7. Okay, interesting zone for me. I'll drop that in Hackers there for you guys. Now, I covered some of this earlier, but one of the ones we covered yesterday was this Mark Anderson going to the crypto summit, and that is apparently, according to this list, it's bullish for AVAX and NEAR. And now I gave you guys a NEAR situation yesterday to look at, and that thing has now started moving. In fact, a lot of the things we looked at yesterday started moving quite well. And now I thought, let's just dive in again on NEAR, and let's try and get our heads around this thing, because we need two options. We need to know, where can we exit and where can we short this thing? And obviously, well, 3 options. And where can we long this thing if there's a dip leading into the summit? So what we can do is we pull out our weekly chart. You can see we looked at this one yesterday. We were looking for some kind of bounce. Look, quite a strong push here from the market, but you can see very clearly for NEAR, we've got a major resistance zone, 3.6 down to say 3.56. Somewhere in that region. You can see that is major resistance for us. What does this mean as potential NEAR bulls? Well, there could be another big trade coming here on NEAR, and that could take you up to 4.7. So there's a potential pop trade coming here on this thing, okay? But it's big, and you need to understand, if we get a guard candle in the market, we need areas to short these things, okay? And for me, this 4.75 is a massive reaction zone there. So that's the absolute extremities there of move for NEAR, but there might be lower time frame options here for you guys as well. So let's take a look here now on the 4 hour, and I've broken this down into a little bit of a range for you guys so you can understand what happens to NEAR every time we push into these types of areas. You can see we get rejections in those zones. So because, you know, we don't want to try and predict the future, we want to just try and play with the information with us or that we've had in the past. And we can see every time we pop into certain areas, we get a rejection. Or every time we drop into certain areas, we get some kind of bounce out of the market and things like that. So NEAR, for me, we just got to be careful. So in terms of the big picture, yes, we can pump up to 4.7. In terms of shorter time frame, what can we look for? So for me, it looks like, you know, the height of this move can take us to 3.5 and call it 3.8. Okay, these look like reasonable pumps here for NEAR, but I wouldn't want to stick around for too much after that. Okay, so just going back to our bigger chart, and you can see, you know, the bigger picture as to where we are there. Where's our NEAR? There it is. You can see the bigger picture here. That's a potential big move, but look what's in our way. That 50-day moving average staring us in the face. So when we go back to the NEAR chart, we can see this thing might give us some kind of guard pump into the VWAP or that 50-day MA. So you may see something like this for NEAR. Bang, and then some kind of pullback on this thing. So in terms of a TP, in terms of a short zone for NEAR, if you pump tomorrow, 3.6 problem, 3.7 problem, and 3.86. They are all major resistance zones. These are all major rejection zones here for you guys. Just be careful. Green candles, danger zone. Now, obviously, if the market continues to rip, we'll have a different game plan. And what that game plan is going to be is we'll deal with any rejections off these types of moves. So if you get that push, and just like I've shown you on 𝗬𝗰 and on NEAR, on the higher time frame on 𝗬𝗰, if we're going to get some kind of rejection, we may get some kind of bullish flag out of this thing. So there might be another big trade for you guys into that 4.8 zone that I've spoken about. But right now, let's do baby steps. Let's understand where we are. Big resistance ahead here. Let's not get euphoric beyond those levels, okay? Then once we are at those areas, we'll have some kind of second bite at this and some kind of second trade. Okay, so look out there. Short zones, 3.9, 3.7, sorry, 3.8, 3.7, and 3.6. Okay, those are all your upside danger zones. You can see here, it's very clear. And look at that VWAP, okay? That VWAP and order block there could be deadly in terms of danger zones there for you guys. Okay, so we'll drop that one. And then let's talk AVAX. And lots of talk around AVAX, but not enough pumpage at the moment, I'm afraid. And I see John is shorting. He's shorting at the moment. Who else is shorting? And anyone else shorted, let us know, because that's also a fun one, and it responds both ways, okay, to the downside VWAPs and the upside VWAPs. That Altcoins a banger. Okay, so in terms of AVAX 5-day, we touched on this one earlier this week. Okay, we haven't had an amazing move out of this thing, but lots of talk. So I thought, let's look at this, because they're calling this thing a potential bullish play. Okay, so you know, this is AVAX and NEAR. It could have a little bit of sauce in the tank. So I thought, let's look at this thing and see where we can get our reversal. So I've broken this down now on lower time frames, and we don't want to get overexcited. So in terms of possible targets here, 25 makes the most sense to the upside. Look at that order block there for the upside play. 25, 23.7, and then you can see big resistance here at 22.7. So how do we get a piece of this? Well, I think it's going to fall into our laps, actually. And you can see what we've got here. We've got a fib from the low to the highs. Look at that. We've got our order block sitting here at 20.3, and we've got horizontals with our 618, and we're about to see a 1 hour start drifting a little bit lower. So there might be a gift coming here for AVAX. So potential longs, 20.4 to 19.9 for AVAX. That looks fun. Okay, that looks like a potential reversal play. So what you want to do is just track this oscillator to the downside. You want to try and spot those reversals. Now, obviously, again, like I've said before, you can get the lower time frame reversals, but they are more degen plays if you want to play those games. And you can see they've done it a couple of times. Look at that. We had divergence print today. What did it hit? Hot zone, VWAP, 382, horizontal, bang. Okay, there's a little move for AVAX. So if you're a scalper or you're a degen, you can play this game all day. But in terms of the 1 hour time frame and in terms of a slightly bigger move that we're looking for, look for this reversal to the downside. Now, you guys, what does lamp mean, Leroy? Leroy, if you've ever watched Anchorman, right? If you never watched Anchorman. So, guys, you're watching me play with this oscillator. You're watching me do this TAE. I'm talking about hot zones. You're like, what the fuck is this guy actually doing? And is it science, or how do you learn how to do it? Well, it's very simple. Okay, you can do my accelerator course where I teach you all of this stuff. You're going to learn how to do this in very short, concise videos. You're going to have a full understanding of what I'm talking about and what I'm doing, and most importantly, how to use all those extra chart prime indicators that you see me using there, including that oscillator. So make sure you do my accelerator course, and you're going to be trading. You're going to be literally trading and off these types of levels within 10 days. Okay, and you can get everything that I talk about under the show description. So just go to the show, click more, and then everything that I do is under here. You can see my trading accelerator there is towards the top. There's Chart Hackers. Our community is also there towards the top. There's Bitfunded, all the exchanges that I use, everything is here for you guys just under the show description. So you can find that all there. And guys, really, like when the market's been tough and you're feeling frustrated, learn something new, like learn a new skill. Maybe your trading strategy needs an adjustment. So do the accelerator course, take a look, and see if it works for you. Okay, and we've also got an amazing community that is going to take care of you there in Hackers. So let's see what else we got. So Aptos we covered yesterday. Nice little pump. Okay, great move out of Aptos. Eleanor Terrett says Bitwise investors filed an S1 application with the SEC for an Aptos ETF. Now, that's obviously pretty bullish there on Aptos. So that's pretty decent. And then let's take a look here. The weekly chart, big mover. Okay, so we looked at a couple of entry options there yesterday. And I mean, look, this thing did run quite hard and it did run quite early. But in terms of the longer time frame on Aptos, I still think this thing goes more. Okay, so it's now a question on if we get a pullback, is it going to hold the major weekly zone? So my view on Aptos remains the same. I think 5 to 4.3 is going to be the extreme lows we want to see, but I do expect these lows to hold. So if they do send us into that region, for me, that is actually quite a nice buy zone. Okay, so look out for that. And obviously, it's not going to be nice because it's going to be a 30% dump on Aptos, but it is a possibility. Okay, so I still think that's a good zone, and this weekly is printing reversal print, bullish divergence. So still confident in this Aptos that it can grind out a bit more. And in terms of where this thing can go, no changes. You know, the target's 6.7, the target is 8.7, those types of levels, and then obviously we can go higher to those range highs. But for now, let's tap 50-day, let's tap the 200-day. No changes there on Aptos, so still looking good. And then talking narratives now, I often do obviously RWAs, and I tend to always lean into ONDO because that is obviously, you know, that's one of my favorite ones. Okay, so I've got ONDO and Maple Finance for you guys today that I just wanted to touch on a little bit on both of these for you guys. And narratives are shifting fast, says Immortal. Okay, while AI and meme sector saw the biggest drop in crypto, RWA remains highly bullish. ONDO and Maple have doubled their TVL since the start of the year. Yes, I think we know that. We've spoken about that a fair amount. And what has Maple done? Maple surpassed $700 million in TVL, proof that real fundamentals and real yield win out. Okay, so Maple has been grinding. I mean, we have been talking about Maple for a while, and it has been doing its thing. So let's talk ONDO. Let's just see where we are. And in terms of where we were yesterday and where we left things, you can see ONDO was super bullish, but it did push into our rejection zone. Okay, so we did get a rejection there on ONDO, and we are now under major 3-day resistance. You can see that. So lots of work to do for ONDO. 1.16 is a problem zone. When do we turn bullish on ONDO? Let's reclaim this 1.1, call it 1.15. Let's reclaim that level. If we start reclaiming those areas, then we can start getting super comfortable. Okay, so we just want to see a little bit of action here above that type of zone, and then I think we're going to have fun. We got 1.25 coming. We've got 1.39 coming. Okay, but step one, we've got to get ahead of resistance, because otherwise we're just going to keep dropping back, and we need to be prepped for lower levels. Okay, so how do we do that? So here is the game plan for ONDO. Now, I dropped tons of these in Chart Hackers, guys. If you like this type of stuff, I mean, besides our amazing team there, like I do these things for you guys. I give you the trade plans on these things for the day and what we're waiting for. And you know, this ONDO was dropped earlier today, and we might still wait another few hours for it to hit one of these zones. So and again, this is all about being patient and waiting for the trades to come to you rather than trying to force these things. So here's ONDO on the 1 hour. Looking bearish. Okay, so you can see our oscillator did turn over, and now we are drifting a little bit lower. So we've looked at a couple of tokens that have a similar look on their 1 hour. So that's telling you soon we're going to get to some kind of reversal place. We might only reverse, you know, midway. We might only go down here before we get a reversal. So we're going to have to look at this one closely, because you can see what can happen with these things when we do get these reversals. And ideally, you want to tie it into one of our hot zones. So in terms of an ONDO plan to the downside, so this existing sell-off, I think you're going to get along here, 1.08 down to 1.06. I think that's a nice long area that you can look at, and just try and time it with some kind of reversal, preferably on this oscillator, and see if you can gauge that. Otherwise, there's a big hot zone here for you guys at 995. That is a big one as well. That's our quantum reactor. That's our 618. That's our horizontal. That's tons happening in that area. So 1.08 to 1.06, guys. ONDO, 200-day MA. Look at that. Big level. Okay, so if we drop into that, we might get something out of that. Now, what do we do for upside? So let's look at our bigger time frame chart. You can see what is our resistance, 1.15, and you've got your wick high and 50-day MA at 1.25. So we know that's your resistance up there. Then you can see in this region, this is the 1 hour chart. That's how we know this is a potential short zone for us on ONDO. Okay, so call it 1.23 to 1.26. Looks like a nice short zone if there is a pump in the market. So that pump in the market might be the dip into your entry, and then a 15% rip into those types of levels. And that is going to be your TP zone, or that is going to be your potential hedge short play that you can start looking at. Okay, so you look for the pumps, and then you look for the reversals on the oscillators. Look at that, prints the reversals, and then you start getting those shorts in play. Okay, so there's your game plan on ONDO. We're going to get that straight into Chart Hackers for you guys. And then in terms of Maple, also interesting one. So we've got ONDO at big horizontal resistance. We've got Maple looking the same and under big horizontal resistance. But I want to show you this. The 3 days looking pretty bullish, and this might be a great spot play for you guys. Look at this. We've got an inverse head and shoulders here brewing on this 3 day. This is starting to tell me, you know, maybe it's time to start paying attention to this thing. So nice little spot trade potentially here brewing on Maple, and potential targets, you're looking at about 20% once we start pushing a bit higher. So there's a 20%, and then we can take it to these wicks at about 50%. So upside targets for me, 17 and 22. Those look like the most obvious targets here for Maple. But how do we act? What do we do? So ideally, you want to get some kind of push through this horizontal region. So you're going to, I mean, we're looking at this one on the 3 day at the moment, but what you really want to see is consolidation on at least, say, 8 hour, 12 hour daily above this 14.8 to 15 region. So let this thing push up. You can see we're rejecting on the 100-day. Let this pop up. Then we want to just make sure we've got support around 15. That's going to be used as our exit plan in case this thing reverses. So we just want to make sure 15 is our support, and we're going to cut if we start dipping under those types of regions. We're going to look at a couple of big areas where we can start cutting. So when it's got support above this 14.815, if we start losing that, we'll look to start trimming, and then we've got lower levels at 13 as well as a possible exit plan there on Maple. But looking bullish. I think this thing is going to pop. If there is a little bit of a sniff here in the market, we should get some kind of move out of this Maple. So that is looking quite pleasant. And Yumi says, I also don't know how to get my sleep. Hackers is really addictive. It is. Like, trading is addictive, though. It's proper addictive. James, any bad news that's just come out that I need to know about?
Not that I see, no. But, man, everything's fallen over. Really bad.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. This is not good. Okay, well, dominance is still dropping. That's nice. Okay, ETH is still doing nothing. That's nice. Okay.
Cheeto's ripping.
What's it ripping?
Cheeto. JTO. There's some new Pith announcement just came out partnering with Coinbase and whatever Marty Party's screaming about.
Cheeto. Okay. What's it got to do with Pith or Path?
I think they moved together.
Oh. Yeah, could be something coming here, guys. Okay, could be something coming. Jito, look at this. So this is something for you guys to watch because this could be fun. Okay, this could be a play. So you want to see this breakout of this this big horizontal. That's the 200-day moving average. Look how beautiful this 200-day is. Look at this. Look at that. Resistance, resistance, resistance. So when we get this pop, you're going to use this as support. When this pops through, this is where your sign where you can start taking on some risks. So you want to use that as support, 2.6. Then if it comes back, you can long from there. I mean, that's what you're really going to be watching out of this Jito. So yeah, Jito looks interesting. Just get through this 2.7 zone, just pop through this 200-day nicely, and then maybe there is a bit of action there for you guys. Again. Is my chart missing again? And I just drew a nice picture here. Hold on. Paula, is it back? Thumbs up from Paula. Okay, guys, there's the plan. We'll put this in hackers. Okay, James, thank you. Guys, amazing day coming tomorrow. Okay, James, see you later. Big day tomorrow, guys. It's hard to call. Okay, but in terms of what to expect, I would say I'm leaning against some kind of pump on excitement and then a big sell-off. Okay, so that's pretty much what I'm going to be looking for. If we carry on pumping afterwards, well, nice surprise. Okay, and then we're going to start playing horizontal breakouts. We're going to play the trend breakouts, things like that. All I can say is don't put all your eggs in one basket. Okay, don't go max long. Okay, because what if it doesn't work out for you guys? And what if? Okay, be safe. We'll see you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Catch you later.